These days, English is the world language. What was the world's, well, global language or whatever? Um, in ancient times, so more than around 600 CE to 300 BC, 3000 BC, beyond that, what world language was used in both Bharatvarsha, Persia, Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, Phoenicia, and so on? Interesting question. So today, because of modern technology, the world is interconnected. And that's why you need a link language. And because of the domination of the Anglo-Saxons in the past 500 years, that link language or global language, international language, is English. Before, it used to be French, because the French had conquered England, the Normans. It used to be French. So for a long time, French was considered to be the language of diplomacy. Today, if you meet Indian diplomats, you will find that they speak some form of French. Some speak good French, excellent French. Some speak some French, but all of them, well, it's prestigious to speak French because it is the language of diplomacy. You will see Mr. Shashi Tharoor speaking in French with the Russian envoys and so on. So French used to be the language of diplomacy. It still is, kind of, and English is the global language. Now, if you go back to 300 AD or CE, the world was not interconnected. It wasn't. Kings would never meet. If you were kings from the Indian subcontinent, you may meet sometimes under special circumstances. But if you were a king from India, you would not meet a king from Persia, or you would not meet a king from Egypt, or a king from South America, or a king from Europe. It never ever happened. Never. And that's why there was no world language. In Asia, there was a civilization language, which was Sanskrit, because Indians had spread far and wide, and much of Asia was Indianized, as we know. So if Indian merchants went to Sri Vijaya or Majapahit, well, they could speak Sanskrit and it would be understood, at least by the nobility and those who mattered. If Indians went to China, to the court of the Tang emperor, they could speak in Sanskrit and they would be understood because you would have scholars there who spoke Sanskrit. Even if Indians went to Japan or Goryeo, they could speak Sanskrit and be understood by the powers that be. So in Asia, you had Sanskrit. If you went to Tibet, you could speak Sanskrit, and so also in Mongolia eventually. Persia, as long as Persia was free, not conquered by the Arabs, you could speak Sanskrit there, and you would be understood. Beyond that, did not really work. So it's a huge domain, huge geographical area where Sanskrit was the link language, the civilizational language, but there was no global language as such. But there were hegemonic languages in Europe. For example, Latin was spoken across Europe because the Romans had conquered much of Europe, most of Europe, and they had imposed their language everywhere. So in Europe, for the longest time, Latin was the link language. It eventually became the language of the Vatican Empire. So you had Latin there over a certain amount of geographical area, and in Asia, over a much vaster geographical area, you had Sanskrit. And that's about how it was. Africa, we have no idea because their history has been destroyed. It's been erased, so we don't know. In the Americas, once again, their history was destroyed. They were conquered and smashed, so we don't know about that also. So I can tell you about Europe and India and Asia.